You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go. It's episode 31 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Andrew Yagi, and I'm a real estate agent.
I'm Kayla and I'm a mortgage lender.
Kayla, happy new year and happy start of season 2 of the It's Real podcast.
It's season 2. I'm so excited. We have a season under our belt. We are beating the odds of all podcast starters. Look out, world.
Right. So we just, 30 episodes in season 1. We just missed 22 weeks of content, but that's okay. We made it a lot farther than most people.
I was wondering if you actually noticed that, because our goal was one a week, but you know what? One every other week is great too.
It's not bad. Not bad.
No. So are you incredibly excited for a new year? Is this where, you do the whole restart thing, resolutions? What do you do at this time?
Yep. For sure. I mean, Kayla, I'm big on goals. I'm big on self-improvement and big on just, achievement and the like. And so it has been big. I have some really big goals for 2024. I'm really excited about the new year, Kayla. I had a little bit of anxiety when I got up on the 1st and I hadn't set my goals yet. Although I kind of, knew largely what they were, but, sometimes committing them to paper is one of the biggest things, and I hadn't done it. But how about you?
Usually every year I have a huge list of things, and this year I'm just kind of taking it brick by brick. And I am a big planner, and I'm the type where I'll have a goal and I'll break it down, like, reverse engineer it back to what I need to do, and I'll still do that. But I'm just kind of focusing on balance a little bit this year, because sometimes, I don't know about you, I go so all in right away that I get burned out. So I have a lot of goals, but I'm just going into them a little bit more delicately this year.
Yeah, I like it. Good for you.
But I did start out my new year hanging out with my really good friend who I do a podcast with. So that was a really great start.
Yeah. So that is one thing, Kayla, that, and like we talked when we connected yesterday, is just the fact that, we sit and we see each other every week, or I guess on average every other week, due to our lack of consistency there for a while. But the real, like, face-to-face, connection and getting together, makes a huge difference, and is still so important. And it's something that, it's kind of becoming a little bit of a lost art, with a lot of people in the day of Zoom and Teams meetings and, just doing everything virtually and via technology.
Yeah. And the thing is it's just proof too, though, that you can still have relationships and collaborations with people, and you can still close on clients' deals. Like, you still have this ability to break barriers that geography, used to prevent us from doing. We, couldn't see people in person, then we couldn't do business or have a relationship. Where now, you and I are proof that, we saw each other yesterday for coffee, but when was the last time we saw each other in person, Andy? Do you know? Was it 2 years ago?
Has it? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but thankful for technology, right?
Very thankful for technology. If not for technology, we wouldn't be talking right this second, Kayla.
I know. Filming our 20, 30 episodes. So I'm excited, though, for what the year has to bring. I'm excited for real estate. Last year was incredibly challenging for most.
Right.
You have fire, right? It can either warm your house or it can burn it down. And some people let it burn down their house, and others used it as fuel to warm their house. Like, I'm going to fine tune my systems and lean in and learn. And if I'm slow, I'm going to find ways to educate myself. So I don't know about you, Andy, but I feel like you and I leaned into the hard times and found ways to really press on and become better at our jobs. So I'm excited to see what 2024 brings.
I am too, and I think what really hit home for me earlier, when we were talking about goals, and I'm all in, and
Mhm.
jotting down, just a laundry list of things I want to do. When you're talking about balance, I think that is one thing that I did take out of this last year, which was down 20 to 25%
Mhm.
on average in most marketplaces, is that I worked to find balance and just find some of the other things that I like to do, kind of through kind of some self-reflection, exploration. I've really been trying to spend more time with family. Like I probably told you before, my oldest, who my girls are 6 and 4 and just coming up on a year, and my oldest, when she started preschool and I had to take her to school 2 days a week at 8 and pick her up at 3, it kind of bothered me because I wasn't able to get to the office, right, to wrap up work early. But really, I'm reframing that. I'm looking, because now I'm every day of the week, more or less, when I'm able to, I'm there, picking up my kids, because my wife also works in a school, and beginning and end of the day are really busy. So I'm kind of reframing and choosing how I think
Yeah.
about that, and being more productive and being more intentional with my time. And then also, finding some other things that I like to do that complement this, things especially like aviation,
Yeah.
agriculture, and diving into that to kind of keep me focused and keep me sharp as well. So
Right. Well,
balance.
I think that's just a balance of everything. And I know it's often overused, that term, but I think at any time, is anything really truly imbalanced? Probably not. But I think the outlook on it needs to be balanced. Is you have to be okay with, if you do, take your daughter to daycare, or attend, your son's soccer game, you're going to have to get back to a client at a different time. Or you might not be able to, show a house at that exact time that normally you would. But at the end of the day, people understand balance. We humans understand each other. And I feel like I used to look at people, Andy, and say, oh my gosh, like they're always working. They must be crushing it. Where now I look at people and I think they're not working. They're taking vacations. They must be crushing it, because they must be balancing their life somehow. They must be able to do that. They must have a team, or they can delegate to elevate. And so it's all a matter of your own perception and
Mhm.
what you find balance with, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yep, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, leverage and having a great team on your side. I know you've got some great individuals that you work with at First International, and the same in my office. I've got some great staff, both here physically in my office and in the Philippines, who really help me
Yeah.
be able to do what I do, and do some of the things that I do in the community. They help, take some things off my plate so that I
Mhm.
can go and focus on the pieces that are really important to me.
Are there any like tips or tricks that you would have for like anyone listening, maybe that's in real estate or in sales or just in general, they want to be more organized, or any, you just said you use someone in the Philippines. Like people don't even know that exists. What are like two or three tools or things that you use that or are going to use in 2024 that help you with efficiencies?
That is a very interesting question. So first of all, I would say, Kayla, read Tim Ferriss, The 4 Hour Work Week, because that's what kind of, got me going in the virtual assistant space. Just kind of showing, Tim Ferriss does a great job of illustrating, what truly is available, provided your business obviously has to be at a certain point, and
Mhm.
you have to use the proper tools and be very, very disciplined, but you can
Mhm.
work very little and be very productive. As far as tools and the things that I use for productivity, Kayla, they're remarkable. Have you bought yours yet? Because I know you said you were planning. You really needed one, and so the remarkable is like my right hand. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's like it's digital, but it's like writing on paper. I use it kind of as a daily planner, and just like this morning, I was at a meeting talking about housing, Kayla, and all of a sudden, oh boy, I need to take notes. Well, I'm going to add a couple of sheets here, so I
Yeah.
can take notes on the fly, and then I can come back and I can reference them. It's just the perfect balance of like no tech and tech, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I think too is when you have things written down in one place and then you're traveling with your phone and then you've got your computer, they're all over the place, your notes, and you don't you just become scatterbrained. And I
Mhm.
think they're remarkable. Yes, I'm considering, and thank you for letting me now again try yours out for a second time. It just allows you to have that feeling of writing down. I know a lot of people say, I just want to write it down. You can do that. You can link it. Like you said, you have an app. I think that that is a really, really great tool because when you go all electronic, you can access it from anywhere. You're no
Right.
longer scatterbrained with where things are at. So that's what I really liked about your Remarkable.
As long as I walk out the door in the morning, probably with my wallet, my laptop, my Remarkable, I'm
Mhm.
in good shape and can do most anything from anywhere. Kayla,
Yeah,
I'm a little disappointed to hear you say you're still just considering it. Obviously, I didn't do a
I
good
want to
enough
buy
job
it.
selling it.
I'm trying to convince my husband that I can spend the money on it. I'm like, you know what? You got to invest sometimes, but he's
Just
all
kind of
for it.
do it. It's
Yeah, I know.
productivity. It's a
My
business
goodness,
expense. Should we
Karen.
take a quick commercial break while you while I observe you purchasing it to hold you accountable? Because
I
it sounds
mean,
like you need some accountability.
oh my gosh, let's do it. Let's just do that after, and we'll plug it back in because I need to order it. I just need to decide between the keyboard and like the cover. I'm thinking
You
just the
don't
cover.
need the keyboard, just get the cover.
Okay, hold me accountable, Yagi.
Yeah. Anyway, so talking about goals, Kayla, I want to dive into goals and maybe not right this second.
Yeah,
I think perhaps our next episode we visit a little bit more about it. This just kind of setting the stage, but
yeah.
um, we set goals related to health and wellness. My number one goal deals with health and wellness, Kayla. I have big goals for the year. We
Mhm.
set goals for for retirement, for taking vacations, passion projects, whatever. But
Mhm.
a lot of people don't really think of real estate in terms of like, hey, I have real estate goals, when realistically we do subconsciously. So I want to dive into that. In fact, the rest of this month really want to, focus a little bit on that for our listeners as it pertains to setting goals, whether that's for your primary housing, maybe it's for a second residence, maybe diving into investment properties. I have a lot of people all the time that ask me. In fact, just today I was out looking at, I had someone reach out to me and said, hey, I know you're an investor. We have a property we want to sell. Will you come and look at it? So just like if you're looking to invest, what does that look like?
Mhm.
And so on and so forth. So I think that we should dive into some of that, just the rest of this month. Um,
Goals as no matter where you're at with a first home purchase and investment is if you don't have goals, you really don't have anything to aim for. And it's one thing to say, well, I have these goals. That's one thing. Get your goals down. But what we can do in future episodes is have your goals, but have the what, but then figure out the how to get there. My good friend Skip had said that to me today on a conversation we had. What are your goals? Don't worry about the how. Get the goals written down, and then you and I, Andy, can help people break down how do we get them there? How do we get you to those end results?
Yep. So we'll talk about the process as well. I think that's really important to really dive in and look at that and what does that all entail.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, Kayla, have put their goals kind of on the sideline and just thinking that, hey, I'm never going to be able to buy or I
Yeah.
can't move,
Yeah.
just because rates have been so high. But we've seen a little bit of a retreat, have we
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, we have. Last time we spoke, we had seen them start to come down. They've come down a little bit more. They're up a bit today and yesterday, but as you see, I love Mortgage News Daily just because it's a general average. But 30 years now, it's under seven still, 677. And again, this doesn't include down payment assistance programs or special portfolio, but that looks a lot better than 8%. And for some people, Andy, this makes a difference not just in payment maybe in what program they qualify for. I had a client 2 weeks ago. They were FHA. And because of the rate decrease, just so, it's a small decrease, but he's able to go conventional now. And that makes a difference, especially if you're looking at a property that's, needs some work. Thank you for pulling this up. These are down slightly. Last week, you'll see just that first line, that first home was at 5.95. So just down slightly, but these are North Dakota housing rates. And these are online. And you guys, like, you can Google this and watch those rates. You can Google Mortgage News Daily and watch the rates. But, you know, for anyone looking to buy this year, I've said it before and I say it darn near every time we record, get pre-qualified now so that when rates drop more and more, you don't have to wait to go through that process later on.
Two questions. First of all, Kayla, how many pre-quals or how many pre-qualified buyers do you think you have waiting in the wings? Like if you were to guess.
You know what? It's funny you asked that. I had 295 clients come to me last year,
Wow.
and I probably have right now, I would say 50 families that could pull the trigger right this second. I probably have another 10 that we would need to refresh some things, have more discussions. But yeah, I would say quite a handful.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it could get busy. The other, well, it will at the right time. And I think people, I think it's going to be a pretty busy year, Kayla. And we'll talk about our predictions in just a little bit. One question I have, and someone brought up to me the other day, and I'd prefer your answer just because you are the mortgage expert. But so you look at the range, so it's easy to look and know that this is an average. But somewhere in the nation, I can go and I can get a 15-year fix for like 5.12%. Or, I might go across town accidentally and get 7.35%. Why the variation here, Kayla? Why is there such a
Mhm.
swing?
So when you see interest rates, sometimes, you'll see, for example, that 677. You might then see, 5.5 somewhere else because a lot of times to get that lower rate, you're paying what's called a discount point. You're paying points, you're paying upfront essentially to get that lower rate. I tell my clients it's kind of like when you upgrade. When you upgrade when you're flying and you fly first class and you want to upgrade, you get the better option, but you pay for it. Well, if you're flying first class, you're going to pay for it. Same with the rate. If you want to fly first class with a lower rate, you're going to pay for it. So a lot of times lenders will splash a rate, but they need to be showing that those rates have X amount of fees. So if a client says, "Hey, Kayla, you're at 6.5, and I saw X bank at this," I say, "Send me their loan estimate. Let's discuss this."
Sure.
And then what we do is we find that there are fees for that rate. So that's oftentimes what you'll see. And companies are going to vary from day to day and product to product, but essentially that's what the difference is.
So smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, pretty much. But I'm telling people right now, if rates do drop this year, why are we talking about buying down the rate if you're going to refinance in probably 6 to 8 months? But your
If
break even
rates drop,
time,
Kayla, do you mean when rates drop?
when I'm just careful because,
How many times are rates going to drop this year?
well, it depends who you ask.
I,
um,
I like to hone in, Kayla, on the Mortgage Bankers Association and their figures. I think you like these too.
I
And it
do.
is really interesting to look at, kind of averages and everything, so looking at, 2024, they're showing, one, two, three, that rates will drop all the way down to an average of six, for
Mhm.
a 30-year mortgage. But I think they had also told us last year things were going to drop quicker than they did. Did they
You
not?
know, they did, and they didn't exactly show up how we thought, and so, right now I'm telling people, like, let's discuss buying down the rate, but if your break-even point is 2.5 years to buy down the rate, I don't think that's a great idea. I feel like you're gonna throw away money. So, lenders need to be having these discussions with their clients so that they know, like, are they gonna throw away money if they refinance in 6 months, or maybe they just buy it down a little bit. So I do think we'll see some rate decline. The Fed says 4 times, but is that 4 tiny little drops? Is it 4 huge ones at the end of the year? We don't know, but all we can do is keep our pulse on it.
Sure. I've
Mhm.
heard 3 to 5, three some places, five other places. You're kind of right in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see that. Also interesting to point out, as you keep trending into 2025, she'll still kind of a gradual decline leveling out, mid
Yeah.
fives. And then even 2026 kind of staying about the same. So I think, for those that are sitting out there thinking, oh, I'm still going to wait. I guess it depends on your circumstance, but we're not, we'll see some rates dropping, but it's going to be a gradual decline by the look of it.
Well, and two, I think if you need to move or you want to buy, I mean, right now, yeah, rates might be higher today than they will be next year or end of this year, whatever year they decide to come down. But when you think about it, if you are spending a little bit more on the rate right now, you can refinance when rates drop. But the cool part is, if you're able to buy right now, you're seeing seller concessions, you're seeing reduced prices typically. You can't renegotiate your price in a year during a bidding war, but you can renegotiate your rate later on. So it does depend on the person. You're spot on, Andy, but it just truly depends on, do you want to get in now and hopefully you can refinance? But my fear is, are people going to get into bidding wars when rates come down and then they're overpaying again? And now, they're overpaying in price, which affects their payment too. So I guess time will tell.
It will indeed.
Mhm.
Speaking of time telling, so here we are at the beginning of the year, and everyone's probably wondering, Kayla, what are your predictions for the year? Um, and so what do those look like?
I think we will see rate drops like the Fed has indicated. I think that we are going to see, I think we're going to see a bit of a frenzy, because I even felt it in the last couple of weeks and rates didn't move substantially, but enough. I think that we will see probably low sixes come year end. That's my thought. What about you? What do you see happening in the market?
Yeah, so I think kind of like what we just talked about, rates are going to be lower, than they were in 2023. Somewhere in that 3 to 5 number of rate cuts, and we'll see. I think you're probably right on as far as where rates will end up. I think the volume of home sales, Kayla, is going to increase for this year.
Yeah.
Just because there are a lot of people that have been sitting on the sidelines waiting to put their home on the market. Those people, new year, new opportunities. I've got to get back and look at my goals. I have somewhere that I want to be. So I think some of those individuals are going to put their house on the market. Buyer demand still, I would say, is very high, especially among the millennials that are out there.
Yes.
Just because they're the largest group of home buyers right now. I think a lot of people, you read some doom and gloom about home prices, a recession, a crash, housing prices are going to come down. I don't think so. I think home prices are going to remain, fairly neutral, Kayla. Well, we
Yeah.
may see some appreciation in some areas, but they're going to be neutral
Mhm.
for 2024. And then, one question that I always get from people is, now a good time to buy or sell? And ultimately that depends. It's got to make sense for
Mhm.
you and your circumstance. But, with rates trending down, continued high demand, that's a fantastic recipe for what should be a very active home market for 2024.
Well, and I love what you say, because for some people, it's not just about the dollar. And we've talked about this before, but they may have had this thought of, I'm never going to buy, I'm going to be in this apartment forever. They've got kids, they've got pets. And I think there's a lot of people come this spring that are going to see a little bit of a rate decline, more inventory as people are starting to sell, because now they can get a little bit lower rate, with the purchase, probably not as low as they have. But I think we're going to see people really look into this a little bit more emotionally too. Of, what does my family need? What do I need for peace of mind? I had a call with a client today and she said, I just want my own office in my house. I just have an apartment and I have no place to work when I want to work at home. So it's little things like that that I think people will also look into.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, Kayla, I think that's a lot of great information. I'm really, really excited that you're all in and you've agreed to do another season here with me. And thanks to everyone, all of our loyal listeners and fans. We're really excited to hopefully instill some real estate knowledge in all of you in 2024 and beyond.
And beyond, and maybe we'll hit more than 30 episodes this year. Who knows?
That's a goal, Kayla. Well, and I don't want to be too pushy with goals. We'll see. So,
Slide into 24.
well, Kayla, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you back here next week.
Sounds good. See you later.
See ya.